All right, welcome to Straight Up. Good evening. It's the last day of the year, December 31st, the last day of the year. Welcome to Straight Up on 107.1 FM.
I'm in the mood, I'm feeling rude, I'm feeling hot, I want to run. The feeling exciting, so darling, let's do something. I wanna rub my body on your body, body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub and love up. I wanna rub and kiss up. I wanna rub and jam up. I wanna rub and rub up. I wanna rub my body on your body. Rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body. Rub my body on your body. I just get paid. I want to play. The vibes is right. I wanna hug up tight. No time to waste. I wanna work my ways. So come on now, babes. Give me a taste. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub and love up. I wanna rub and kiss up. I wanna rub and jam up. I wanna rub and rub up. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Holding on. I feeling, 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 I feeling. Smoke in my brain. I wanna do my thing. Work up a sweat until I soak in wet. Rub your body, show no mercy. Because I'm feeling tipsy, I'm feeling freaky. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub and love up. I wanna rub and kiss up. I wanna rub and jam up. I wanna rub and wanna rub my body on your body. Get, come down, come down.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Killian Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins firm.
All right, hey, guess what? Good evening. It's 7 minutes after 9 o'clock. 7 minutes after 9. I almost didn't come on with you guys this evening, but I didn't want to let you down. I'm like, what the heck? We've been on together all year. Why can't we just end the year together? Simple as that. And I don't know what it is that you want us to discuss this evening. I'm not going to show my faces yet. I just wouldn't do that, right? I've just decided to be on alone, but I will be joined by somebody that you guys know. I will be joined by that individual who will spend a couple of minutes with us. Thank you. I see all the well wishes already. I extend the same to every single one of you out there. I thank you so much for the support over the year. 2021 has been an up and down year for many. Many persons, even through this pandemic period, and even last year. A lot of us can attest to losing loved ones, friends, some family members, and so forth. So it has been kind of like a roller coaster year. And we just want the new year to be better for all Guyanese. And I really do mean that from the bottom of my heart. I don't know, but the politics in Guyana, has got to change. It has got to change. It has got to change. And some of us also have to change our mindset. We've got to do that. And some of you know yourselves. I'm not going to point you out. I'm not going to call names. I wouldn't do that because it is the end of the year. And I promise that I will behave myself for the rest of the year. I honestly do promise that I will behave myself for the rest of the year. I've noticed all of you guys. I'm reading some of your comments. Happy New Year to you and family and so forth and so on. Sherwin Green and all. I got you, Sherwin. Sherwin Green is saying here, and he's saying, Happy New Year to you and your family. And I do hope I get my case of Corona beer you owe me from 2019. You see, this is one of the reasons why I did not want to host this program tonight. Because of people like Sherwin Green. Now, look at him. These guys have no shame. Look at what he's saying. Happy New Year to you and your family, and I do hope I get my case of Corona beer you owe me from 2019. Okay, I do owe Sherwin. He's a good friend. He's a good guy. But some people just don't forget about things, man. That happened in 2019. That is when I promised you that. It's 2021. Going into 2022. Come on, let go. Forget about it, Sherwin. And seriously, forget about it, Sherwin. That was then. That was then. And it's a good point to say that if you get these sort of things on your mind about people, forget about it. Gosh, I owed him since 2019. What about people I owe since 2010, since 2002, since 2001? Thanks a lot, Sherwin. I got you. I got you, man. I got you. Now, what can we talk about this evening? What can we talk about this evening? Raphael Williams is saying, Mark, you will behave yourself for the rest of 2021. Of course, I will behave myself for the rest of 2021. I promise you guys. Now, I want to look at some of your comments. If some of you want to call in, and it's okay, we can do that. Those of you who have my WhatsApp number, feel free to call. Feel free to call. I'd love to hear from some of you guys. I want to hear from Milk, and Lemon. I want to hear from Lemon. He hasn't showed up to work for about 2 days now, and I don't know what is happening with him. I honestly don't know what is happening with him. But, these guys are something else. They're something else. I don't know what has happened to him. But if you do know the whereabouts of him, just give us a call. I want to talk about some serious things, but I'm just going through a little light moment with you guys for the time being. A light moment with you guys. We have Sherwin on the line. Sherwin, what are your plans for the Old Year's night, getting into the new year, man?
Good night, Mark.
Good night.
Me, it's just about spending time at home with the family. I don't do anything in particular, but spend the last night of the year at home with the family. I don't go anywhere. Family is all it is for me going into the new year.
Yeah, and oftentimes when we become parents and we have a family, we think about that. But I'm sure 10 years ago, what would you have been doing?
Like everybody else, you be in the at different clubs or whatever there's church for us. Then we go to different
Clubs
venues and have a good time and come home till New Year's Day.
Absolutely. Look, Sherwin, I want to wish you all the best, you and your family. Give my regards to your wife and your beautiful kids. And I wish you guys a prosperous 2022, you and your entire family. And for your business as well, to prosper in every way. Thank you.
Thanks. And same to you, my brother.
And I hope you do forget about that 2019 promise. Please, forget about it.
I'm just kidding, man.
I know you are. Thank you so much, Sherwin. Appreciate it.
All right, brother.
Good. All right, Sherwin Green there. Want to get in touch with some folks. I'm not sure if Lemon is still on the job, whether he still want to work at Ben Shop Radio, because we have our staff is growing, and if Lemon wants to grow with us, he can grow with us, but he has to. I know he has promised to change his lifestyle, come to work early, and these sort of things. So we have Lemon on the line now. Let's hear what's happening with Lemon. Lemon, good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening, Mark. And how are you?
Yeah, you have been absent. Yeah,
Happy New Year to you and the family and 107.1 staff. Hope
yeah.
you guys have a happy New Year and all the success in the new year.
So
and
tell,
next year I will be having a bigger raise, 25%.
but you haven't come to work about 3 days now, Lemon. Come on, I wish you and your family a prosperous New Year. Man. What's happening?
Same to you. It's Christmas, New Year's. It's a holiday week. It's a holiday. So
that's why you haven't showed up to work.
Yes, you give me time. You give me time off for that. With the family.
Lemon, let me go. Mr. Nigel Hughes is here, man. Have a prosperous 2022, and thank you for all that you do, Lemon. Hope you turn up to work next year.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Yeah. One of our technical guys. Nigel, you heard the guy say, you heard him? Good night, sir. I'm not hearing you, Nigel.
Hi, good night, Mark. Is this any better?
Yeah, a little better. Go ahead.
A little better. Oh dear. I'm not sure what the problem is then.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the issue is here, Mark. I
Yeah,
hope
but
this
I'm
is
hearing you now. Go right ahead, sir. Good
No,
night.
no. I was going to say good night, and let me take the opportunity in the eve of 2022 to wish you and your team the very best in the year, and of course to express my continued appreciation for all that you do for us here in Guyana. Well, I'm not in Guyana, but for us in Guyana.
Thank you so much, Nigel, and I extend the same. I was just talking to one of our technical guys who quit today, comes back tomorrow. He wants a 25% raise. Under these circumstances, 25% raise, Nigel. What is your thought? What are your thoughts on Lemon and what he just said, man?
Well, one of the discussions I actually had with my staff is that, raises and bonuses are driven by the market and they're driven by your bottom line. If you're not making the income to justify the increase, then something's got to give.
Something has got to give. Thank you for putting that in, Nigel. I heard you this morning on the morning show, the mid-morning show with Gabby and Selector Andre. And so I just thought that I extend that invitation for you to be on with us for a couple of minutes this evening on Straight Up. Describe 2021, not just from a personal standpoint, from as a Guyanese living there, working, and reading and seeing the politics of the day. How would you describe 2021?
2021 was a very difficult year. We lost a lot of good people. We should never lose sight of that. We lost Imran. We've lost a lot of people went down this year for various reasons. The fact that we've lost them is significant. I think, unfortunately, despite what appeared to be Guyana's good fortune in terms of the discovery of oil and the commercial production of oil, we learn every day that that's not actually going to get shared throughout the community. It's being reserved for special small segments of the community, and it's very unfortunate that we go into 2022 after what happened in Parliament. Was it last night or 2 nights ago? So we're going into 2022 in difficult circumstances. I don't think we should pretend that it is anything other than difficult, and I hope that we pull through as a people, that we collectively dig very deep and decide what it is that we want for the future. This I can't even call it fortune, because it seems as if it's going to further divide the community. The discovery of oil has brought to the surface a lot of, I don't know, latent differences. It has certainly demonstrated that we clearly have difficulties managing our own relations and managing the economy. And I know this is perhaps not the time to talk about this, but I did see maybe about an hour ago, the president signed the natural resources bill into law. And I was really saddened that amongst the people who are standing behind him, There was nobody from civil society, no trade union representative, no. I don't even think we had a significant representation of women, and given that we're entering the year on clearly even more divided on an even more divided basis, um, I hope we all as citizens find the resolve to work towards trying to bridge that gap.
Yep, trying to bridge that gap. But are you surprised, Nigel, that Mr. Irfan Ali actually rushed to sign that bill? Because usually the bill would have to be sent to the Attorney General for review. And such a bill should not have taken a couple hours to review. One would have thought that maybe mid next week or something like that. But the haste in which it was signed, the haste in which it was rushed through Parliament, your take.
Oh, clearly, I think it was badly managed. The voices outside of the political voices, and the political voices, I think, at the end of the day, always have to be counted. But the voices outside of the political voices were significant. That said, look, this deals with the future of the country. Take some time and let us reflect upon it. And I don't think that anybody would have lost if collectively we all said, well, okay, let's sit down and look at what's going to happen here. It is evident now that the people who are going to benefit from this are the private sector and the government. And when you say private sector in Guyana, it's always in lifted commas because that represents a very um, small aspect of what constitutes the private sector in Guyana. What I certainly know is that it has further divided the society and makes it even more difficult um, to achieve, whether you say the president's one Guyana or you say collective and coherent Guyana. The reality is, Mark, that the benefit from the oil money belongs to every single citizen of Guyana in and out of the country. And for those people who have sacrificed before us, our ancestors whose blood is in the ground, it has been paid for in full, in advance. To now try and uh, reserve the benefits only for a very, very narrow uh, class and brand of Guyana, or sect of Guyana, sorry, not brand, is begging for trouble. Really and truly is begging for trouble. I mean, this is pouring oil in troubled waters. It's very, very unfortunate. Even the Bar Association, notoriously in support of the present government, came out and said, look, they needed more time. It doesn't, we do not start 2022 on a great foot. I just hope that collectively as citizens, we dig deep and try and find a way out.
Yeah, but I've noticed another press release. Thank you, Nigel. There, another press release reiterating its position on that controversial bill, and I say kudos to the Guyana Bar Association. They've came in.
Mark. Yeah, I hear you want to say kudos, but the Bar Association has failed to speak on a lot of things. So I'm
Well,
not sure.
I was going to say that, Nigel. I was going to say kudos on this occasion, but they have been silent on 99% of the other things. But I'm
Yeah.
glad that they came out to speak out against this here, right? But they have been
Well,
silent for obvious
they,
reasons.
they,
I was
yeah,
going to
yeah,
say that.
yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead, Nigel.
No. I was going to say that the bar commented that they got upset that the attorney general said that we didn't have the competency, which is a sensitivity to whether or not you have the capacity, when there are some really fundamental issues about the service that lawyers deliver to the citizens, the quality of service that they have, citizens who interact with the judicial system, people who end up in the court without lawyers, the quality of service that we lawyers deliver to our clients. I mean, there's so many issues that need urgent attention. If you just look at the standing of our profession in the eyes of the public, it's not great. And some would say with justification, we need to address these issues. Unfortunately, what happens in Guyana is that the whole society is falling apart at its seams around us, and so perhaps those issues are secondary to the larger issue of trying to keep the ship of state together. But we thank the bar for actually coming out insofar as they said that,
Finally, after
um,
years of bending towards the PPP, do you think they came out, Nigel? Do you think that they came out because they felt as though that they were supposed to, by law, be consulted by the AG, and they didn't, and they felt insulted to some extent that forced them
I,
to come out?
I wouldn't presume to understand what goes on in the executive of the bar association. I'm not there, and I'm not privy to their deliberations. But what I will say is that this bill has such far-reaching consequences for all Guyanese, even those who think they may be close to the decision makers. Because once the decision makers cut you out and say, um, uh, my friend gets priority over you, even though you are my friend. So even amongst the people who are close to the decision makers, they're going to get excluded at some stage. And I think people understand that this here is going to seriously affect the rest of a long time into the future. Um, and what it effectively does is it gives the decision making process to a very small, minuscule um, group of decision makers, very impervious to review, and certainly impervious to changes. Um, that I think, if we look around the world when this has been done, what the consequences are going to be. I mean, there's going to be a lot more resistance during the year. There are going to be a lot less people who feel that the system can protect their interest, and they're going to resort to methodologies that are outside of the system. So if like, I look at a lot of the criticism that I've read in the last couple of days about what happened in Parliament is directed towards the conduct of certain MPs, and very little discussion is taking place on the impact and consequences of this act now, and what it does in terms of who invests the decision making power in, for the purposes of determining the wealth of this nation and how it is spent, and who gets into a position to benefit from it. If you're saying that the future of the country depends on you sending a check for $250,000 to the unfortunate sugar workers who deserve it, and all the other unfortunate people who also deserve it, that's not the way to deal with how you're going to build the future of the country. And if you're reserving the decision making powers and the powers to review to a very small sector of the community, you pick your country and you see what the consequences are. And what you've done is you incentivize people by this conduct to behave differently. I shudder to think what the first quarter of this year is going to be like in terms of resistance.
Yep, in terms of resistance, we're not seeing that light at the end of the tunnel at all. This regime is not making things any easier for people. Uh, Mr. Hughes, in terms of you being a lawyer from a legal perspective, what you saw played out in Parliament and the passage of that controversial bill, how does that make you feel? Because we're talking of the checks and balances, three branches of government. The judicial is supposed to make laws, right? But not under
Not the
pressure
judiciary. You mean the National Assembly is supposed to pass the laws?
pass
Yeah,
the law. They're
yeah.
part of the legislative branch. Sorry about that. Yeah. But under good circumstances, what we saw played out with the passage of that bill, highly questionable. From a legal standpoint, how would you describe what happened?
Um, Well, Mark, and not that I'm hiding behind this. I've heard what the speaker said. He said that the original mace was not there; that they had an imitation mace that was used. There's some suggestion that the speakers were not in their positions at the time the vote was taken. Those are all issues that have to be challenged. The practice of parliamentary rules is not something that it's not an area that I've practiced in extensively, so I wouldn't even pretend to offer professional opinion on it. But I think more fundamentally, the issue here really is, are we really going to allow a very small sector of this community, appointed by an executive that represents what 52.3% of the population to solely exercise the power to not only people the review body, but make the determinations, or to have those persons make determinations which affect the future of this country. And I'm sorry, it's this is not the Queen's Tea Party where you're going to where people realize that their futures are being threatened in a real sense and expect people to behave in some way in which people approve of socially. This is not a discussion about social conduct. I think what is perhaps most disturbing about what happened is that people reacted the way they did when faced with the inevitable, which is that this was going to come into law, and this became a competition of who was going to blink first. And I think the people of Guyana deserve better than that. They really do.
Of course, the people do deserve better than that. I know, Mr. Hughes, I asked you for just a few minutes to send out greetings for 2022 and so forth, but here we are, way over that couple of minutes, and I appreciate your time very much. But spare us a couple of minutes more. We saw the name callings. We saw the description of what the opposition MPs did. They're called hooligans. They're called thugs and all these sort of things. We have seen that sort of thing played out in Parliament in 1991 with then opposition leader Dr. Chetty Jagan, who later became president. People have a lot of respect for him, like they do with Fox Burnham and others. But we hardly heard that sort of description of him and others who did probably worse, to call them thugs and to call them hooligans and so forth. What is your take on members of this current regime describing folks as thugs and hooligans and so forth? And this is not the first time,
Uh,
mind you, Nigel, that we're hearing that sort of description.
Mark, I have a slightly different take on that. Do I define who Mark Benchop is? No, I don't. If I call you an idiot, that doesn't define you. You define yourself. And so I really am not concerned about whether or not. I mean, let me start off by saying I'm not surprised that that language was resorted to, because that's the level at which we operate in Guyana. We operate at the lowest common denominator. And I don't think the fact that the government calls the opposition thugs and hooligans is anything new. And I don't think the opposition members are defined by it. I certainly don't think they're concerned about it. And that's just a commentary on where we are as a people. So, the fact that the president thinks that Mark Benchop is an activist who is disruptive doesn't affect you. You continue. So I'm not concerned. I'm not surprised by the language that's used. It's what, I mean, if I were in politics, is what I would expect if I was an opposition member, because that's the currency that we use when we speak in Parliament. You just have to look at how Parliament goes on. So I'm not really concerned about the language, and I'm not surprised by it. And I don't think that for me, we should waste too much time getting involved in the language they use. I mean, there's nothing that is said there that is new. It is what they would typically use, and therefore, I don't think any of the opposition members is defined by it, or should be concerned about it. I think the question is what goes beyond that. And if you permit me, about a week ago, there was a controversy where a minister and sitting member of parliament referred to two sitting judges as PNC activists. That's a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous place to go. And then I did hear the vice president say that he wouldn't chastise the member of the House or the minister for having referred to two sitting judges as activists of a party which traditionally gets the same ethnic supporters as the ethnicity of the judges. Are you seriously saying in this day and age it is now acceptable to career judges at the Court of Appeal, that it's acceptable for a minister of the government to refer to them as PNC activists, and we think that that is acceptable? Just walk to the next stage. It means then that every time somebody of a different ethnicity goes before a judge, magistrate, anybody, and they don't like the outcome, that person is then justifiably called an activist? Oh, that is unbelievable. The problem with that is, Mark, once that becomes normal and acceptable because these are two career judges that have given their entire lives to dispensing justice. Once we allow that to happen, we have come apart at the seams, and the consequences of that are really frightening. We are really heading to the basis on which, or to the place at which Rwanda started to have their problems. Because all you need now is some very singular, unfortunate incident that has ethnic undertones or overtones to occur, and everything will become a conflagration. And I'm sorry, as somebody who's been at the bar for a while, that is a dangerous place. And I have not heard the strength of response across my profession attacking that statement. How can you possibly call two sitting judges of the Court of Appeal activists of a political party? I mean, if you think about it, the judge who dissented can equally be described as an activist of the governing party. And if we allow this to happen, where are we going? It means that every time you go to court, the judge would not have the moral basis, forget the legal basis, upon which they could command the respect of the litigants who are before them, because they would have heard a minister of the government and a member of parliament say the two of our judges are party activists. They don't even say they have sympathies. They were described as PNC activists. I, you know, we're heading to the twilight zone here. This is and I haven't heard the sort of objection from it. I haven't heard, all the senior counsel come out and say, look, this is not acceptable, that we, even whatever the bar association may think about this, we cannot possibly allow the administration of justice to operate like this. This is simply not acceptable.
Sad situation. We haven't heard the voices of those individuals. We haven't heard from the so-called private sector commission, the so-called guy, George Chung Chamber
Mark,
of Commerce.
Mark.
Sorry.
Why you want to hear from the private sector on this? We know
I,
where
I-
the private sector
I'm just
commission
saying that
is.
they're
No, no,
critical. Yeah.
no. But you see, the point is, you continue to give people credit if you think that they ought to make a comment. I think they have identified where they are. They have, by their conduct, which has been consistent, indicated what is important to them and not. They clearly don't consider this important enough to them. So I wouldn't even spend the time expecting them to comment. I just would like people to appreciate that once this seeps into our norm, social, political, economic, and judicial norm, then what will happen is that the country is going to come apart.
And somebody reminded us there, Mr. Greenwich, Gary Greenwich, that says, and Jack Deere endorsed what Darren Lal said when asked. How dangerous is that too? Forget about Darren Lal. He's just a
No,
loudmouth. But
Mark,
Jack Deere,
here's what's scary about this. So
sure.
next session, we go before, let's say, Justice Priya Bihari is sitting in the criminal sessions, and there is an African defendant charged with murder, and he gets convicted. He can jump around the place and say, look, the judge didn't like me, so she directed the jury in a certain way because I was black, and then that becomes acceptable. And then the entire society, his family says this over and over. Then the village says it over and over, and then we literally come apart at the seams. We don't. You see, managing a multiracial society requires a lot of restraint and a lot of respect for our institutions. It's, you see, if we were, for example, like Barbados, we are not like Barbados, but if we were like Barbados, where you had a common religious base, you had a sort of a common approach to societal matters, even at a religious level, that's okay. Ghana is a very, very diverse, multicultural society with very nuanced. So even within the ethnic groups, you have, differences. So to be able to manage this entity, this legal entity called Guyana, you have to be very, very skillful at how you keep all these groups committed to the process of Guyana. You have to be very careful what you say, so that people don't misinterpret in the context of a multiracial society what it is you did say, and where you hold office, whether it's ministerial or a member of parliament or any other public office. The last thing you want to do is accuse people of being activists on the bench. You could strongly disagree, which I completely support, with a decision that is arrived at to the court. Absolutely, it happens all the time. Any lawyer will tell you that they go to court, they will lose a case someday, and you may believe that the court made an error, which you're entitled to do. But you do that in a responsible way. You look at the decision, you examine it, and you say, on these grounds, it is not so. But you don't, in a multi ethnic society, start to attack judges based on, and in any way that may suggest a political bias. And worse yet, in Guyana, where politics means ethnicity by and large, on a ethnic basis. Once you start to do that, we come apart at the seams, and the whole idea of a single Guyana in which we have the skills to manage the diversity that we have, and more importantly, where we expect our leaders to have the capacity to bring to the fore the best of this absolutely fabulous diversity, so that all those young people coming out, irrespective of whether geographically they're from the coast or from the hinterland or wherever they are in the ethnic kaleidoscope, that they bring their best and their ideas forward to a better Guyana. But you don't do that with this sort of conduct. So what happens is that, unfortunately, and forgive me for repeating myself, we are going into 2022 more divided. And now the divide is not only political or ethnic, the divide now is going to come, you're now pouring on top of that uh, a bill that allows the private sector and the government to benefit almost exclusively from the oil proceeds. So we don't even have a structure that says how these monies are going to go into the different communities. And let me take the community that supports the government, the sugar workers. I am sure the sugar workers are happy to get $250,000. That's great. But what are you saying to them about how you're protecting their children, how you're educating their children, how are you spending that money for the future of their children? How are you going to be able to ensure that even in that community, you have equipped them with the skills? You're not giving them the fish all the time. You've given them the best fishing rods and the best bait upon which they can actually get and capture the fish to feed their children. And giving them $250,000, what is it going to do? Yes, everybody is grateful for it, but how does that help them equip themselves and their children for the future? How are you retraining those sugar workers who are clearly out of a job? They're not going to reopen the estates, and at least you owe those supporters the truth, which is sugar is no longer viable. Accept that as a fact. If you're saying that we are going to provide you with some level of social support until we can retrain you and, of course, create some educational path for your children so that they could sustain themselves, that's what you gotta have to do. But you know, this contempt with which you run around and you give somebody $250,000 is almost as if you beat up your wife and then you give her $250,000 and tell her keep quiet, don't go make a report to the police. This cannot be the basis upon which we talk about building the future of this country.
It certainly cannot. Nigel, we can go on and on and on. I know you want a better Guyana. We all want a better Guyana.
No,
But
no,
all,
I'm retired. It's the young people that want that.
yeah, but we can't give up. Even though you're retired, you're still inspiring thousands upon thousands of people. The firecracker, those firecrackers sending a signal to us, Nigel. Sending a
Yes, indeed.
signal to us. Let
They
me ask
certainly
you
are.
quickly before you go, though. During the course of the elections, we heard the PPP guys, Rob Street, saying that just declare the elections as is. They have won. They have won. Declare it, and whatever problems the opposition has now, let them take it by way of an elections petition, so that everything will be revealed there. Now that the elections petition is in the court, are in the court, the petitions, it seems as though every single thing the PPP is doing to stymie that process uh, from allowing the petitions to be heard. How do you view that? Your opinion?
Can I answer your question with a question?
Sure, sir.
You think elections solve any problems in Guyana?
No, but elections
No,
were
no, no.
probably
Okay,
elections. Can I allow me to?
sure,
Am I allowed to respond?
absolutely.
Thank you, Nigel. It doesn't solve all of the problems,
Does it solve
but
any? My question was, does it solve
problems
any? I didn't ask you
problems
the
get
whole.
solved. Some problems get solved depending on who is in office.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
name me one single free and fair election in this country that has solved any problem in this country.
Well, I would say this, Nigel, with all honesty. We have had 20 something years, and for the most part of those years, miseries under the PPPC, extrajudicial killings, death squads, you name it, all these sort of things, citizens being tortured, police just barging into people's doors, killing people's little
Okay,
fathers
I'm happy you
sons
mentioned
and
that.
so forth. After 2015,
No,
from a
no,
human
no, no.
rights standpoint, I have
Mark,
seen, I have
Mark,
witnessed the reduction of that. And that to
Mark,
me
Mark.
is a significant
Every
development.
single election that you just referred to, death squads, killing, etc., people went back to the polls and they voted the same way, and they didn't get a chance. 2015 came, and a lot of people had a lot of aspirations. One of them was constitution reform, which is my baby, but I'm not going to push it tonight. Um, and we had an election, and from the time we had that election, the opposition didn't initially recognize the results. Pretty typical for Guyana because it always happens at every elections, and that they went down the line that they were being discriminated, etc., etc. We ended up with a no confidence vote by a person who prior to that vote expressed no level of discontent prior to the night when he voted. He didn't once go and speak to any sugar worker. He never anyway, and he voted the way he voted. And we have a list system, and we know what happened after that. So to me, and I have expressed this view on my Facebook page 2 years ago, Guyana's problem is that we cannot. It's like in the definition of insanity. We cannot keep running into the same wall, injuring ourselves, and expecting that the next time we run into the same wall, we're going to have a different result. It is clear that in a multi-ethnic, multiracial society, you can't have a system in which the winner, who may only get one vote more than the other, makes all the decisions. And here's the danger with what people are calling democracy. So you win more, you beat me by 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 votes. And you say, well, I have a mandate. And you then use that mandate to pass laws that say, because of my political views or because of my ethnicity, I am not entitled to participate in the development of this country. Or worse, I am not allowed to benefit from the natural resources of this country. And you say you're democratically elected to pursue those policies. Since I have not won the election, I'm supposed to sit down quietly, cross my legs, put my tail between my legs, and say, yes, sir, you are democratically elected to govern the country. And if you govern the country, even though you govern the country hostile to my interest, I must be a good boy and sit down and say, yes, you are elected, you won the elections, and you can do what you want, even when it is adverse to my interest. And I am not in a position to do anything because I lost the election. You tell me what's the consequence of that? Because in theory, you could pass a law tomorrow that says, you're not entitled to have um, to participate in the decision making process. Let me just give you an example of what happens. I only ask people, see who is going to be able to establish the shore bases to serve the oil industry. See, are they going to publish the shareholdings of those companies that are winning the contracts to supply the oil industry? And here is what happens. You cannot get certified, you cannot provide any service to the oil industry unless you have capital resources, i.e., money, assets. If you now, under this bill, have the power to determine which companies are going to be in a position to get the assistance from the state, and we know where the money and the economic resources in the country lie, what do you think is going to happen? It is going to perpetuate the wealth in a smaller group of people. And because you have democratically won the elections and you can pass whatever laws you want on a simple majority, the people who are the victims of those policies that you are putting in place are supposed to sit down, behave themselves properly, not shout at anybody, not misbehave in the parliament, and they must voluntarily walk themselves right back into pre 1838. You're seriously saying to me that that is what democracy means? That because you won by one vote, you are entitled to put me back into a position of servitude? And that I must sit down quietly and say, oh dear, yes, you won the elections, so you're entitled to discriminate against me on the basis of what?
I
As
get you. Well,
as
well said. I get your argument. Sorry, go ahead. You were about to
no,
say
I was just going to say, as my Rastafarian brothers will say, I take upon that.
yeah, lots to iterate upon as we just have a few hours remaining for 2021. Persons in other parts of the world are celebrating already 2022. Happy New Year to all those folks celebrating already. Nigel, I don't know what to say, but for 2022, what would be your advice specifically for opposition members of parliament,
My friend,
opposition politicians?
I would have to have expertise in politics to begin to be even pretend to offer advice. I don't have the expertise in politics to offer advice. I can only offer hope and aspiration. I can't offer advice. I'm not a
Your,
political expert.
your closing remarks for all Guyanese for 2022, sir.
I say to them, let's take off the sunshades. Let's be realistic about 2022. It's not starting well. It will not start well, and unless we dig very, very deeply within our soul, um, and really consider what we want out of this geographic space called Guyana that we operate, then let us at least commit to speaking up when the system is clearly flawed. And if speaking up is not noticed, then we have to step up the protest, because this is the future of your country. This is your children's future, and I dare say all of us, it has already been paid in full by all of our foreparents, whether they're African, Indian, Indigenous, Chinese, Portuguese, paid in full. So we don't owe anybody anything here. Each and every one of us is entitled to part of this gravy chain. And none of us is entitled to exclude anybody else by way of decision making or otherwise from participating. And we have to have a structure that makes sure that each one of us gets an equitable share, not based on our economic resources, but based on the fact that we are citizens of Guyana. And the last thing is we're going to have to protect the citizenship of Guyana, because that is going to become an issue as well. I thank you, Mark, and allow me the privilege of saying to you again, thank you so much for all that you have done for Guyana and continue to do for Guyana. And more particularly and personally, in the case of the Working Rust children, we want to thank you for your commitment. We want to thank you for all that you have done for them. And personally, I just want to say to you, thank you for all that you have done. You've carried our stories when we were saying thanks to the people of the community who saved our building during the fire. And may God continue to bless all of us and protect us as well.
Thank you so much, Nigel. I'll be here for you, folks like your organization, folks like the people in work in Rust. Sorry. We will be here at 107.1 FM as well. Quickly, how's the library coming along? I know.
I right now I'm actually out of Guyana, so I can't give you an update on physically where we are with that. But as soon as I get back towards the end of next week, I can certainly be in a better position to share that update with you.
Because we still have more books for you and your library and the kids there, and maybe kids throughout Guyana. Let's get that project going.
I was going to say to you, I think that's a project that needs to be replicated throughout the country, where we get libraries, into communities, and not only do we put the libraries in the communities, but we encourage the young people to start reading.
Will do. Give my regards to you know who.
I will certainly pass it on, and I wish you and your family circle and all the family circles of all your listeners a very, very, very blessed New Year, and hope that everything turns out to be better.
Thank you so much for all that you do too as well. Thank you so much for all of the pro bono cases. I know there's one that you and I are working on. Hopefully
Yes.
we'll get
Yes,
to that.
indeed.
Thank you so much, Nigel.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Good man.
And Happy New Year.
Same to you, my friend.
Thanks.
All right, Nigel Hughes there, a good guy, a good lawyer. There are 1 and 2 times I may say, I disagree with Nigel, but 98% of the times I'm with him. I'm with him all the way. I thank him so much for what he has done and what he continues to do for Guyana, and all the people like Nigel Hughes as well, who give back from their heart. All of the lawyers who stand up, as Lemon would say, is probably locked away in his basement right now, that we need fighters, lawyers who are fighters, lawyers who can pick up cases and say he or she is going to do this case pro bono. That is Nigel Hughes. We need more of Nigel Hughes around Guyana. Lots of Nigel Hughes around Guyana. For 2022, we will need that, because we cannot allow this installed regime to have us go on our knees and beg them for anything. The resources that belong to you, to us, the people. Look at the oil bill. Look at that. Should we sit down and allow it to go just like that? That's just a rhetorical question, mind you. For 2022, I hope that those in the regime know that people are not going to sit by and take lashes, political lashes like that. And if the PPP up their ante 10%, we will up ours 50%. It's a warning. That's all. But to all of you, put aside that politics. All of you, I wish you the best for 2022. A prosperous 2022. Especially all of you in Guyana who have to endure that sort of hardship under this installed, corrupt, racist PPP regime. You know, for me, 2022 will be trouble. Good trouble. That's all. Mind you, I said trouble, but good trouble. God bless you all. God bless your family. And I say cheers to all of you. I love you. And thank you for the support. Thank you for all that you do for us at 107.1 FM. Thank you for spreading the word. And you know what? We will get bigger and better through our radio station, 107.1 FM. Thanks again, guys. Much appreciation. You know, I don't want to leave you with my song, Rub Your Body, Wind Your Body, and these sort of things. The only reason that I play that is that there's no copyright infringement. I'll leave you with this religious song from a youngster, a young Guyanese. Listen to it. God bless you all. I love you, and I'll see you next year.
Hey, yo, RGF. I know you have experienced the goodness of God, man. And I just want you to help me with this one. Say, you're a good God, yes.
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 I can never be ungrateful when I've seen your goodness. You pay my debts and increase my assets. And it's more than what you did for me. That you are beyond worthy. I wanna come by the fearless matters. You bless me all times that are countless. And I pray that I'll always see everything you did for me. I lift
My hands to you.
I'm gonna lift
My dance to you.
You have been
So good to me.
You have been
So good to me.
I'm gonna lift
My
you never. You're marvelous in majesty. You're awesome authority. Like David, I will write your greatness so that every man can see.
So good to me.
You have been
So good to me.
I'm gonna lift
My hands to you.
I'm gonna lift
My dance to you. So good to me.
You have been
So good to me.
Let me feel you. You never will. Every promise made you always fulfill.
When it seems like it's not going good.
Everything lines up to your will. Every single doubt I will kill. Recognize God and be still. There's nothing I can do anyway, so I take my position and lift my hands to
My
you.
hands to you. My dance to you. So good to me.
You have been
So good to me.
I'm gonna lift
My hands to you.
I'm gonna lift
My dance to you. So good to me.
You have been
So good to me.
I lift
My hands to you. My dance to you. So good to me.
You have been
So good to me.
I'm gonna lift
My hands to you. My dance to you. So good to me.
You have been
So good to me.
Yeah. It was fun doing this one, man. But before I go, you gotta help me sing. You're a